Meeting is being recorded.
Well, they'll miss the introduction, but we'll move on with that. And we'll go ahead and start this morning with the introductions. Should we just go ahead and introduce ourselves here inside, and then I'll have you call for virtual? Okay? Go ahead, Emily.
Oh, sure, I can start. I'm Emily Langston. I'm a program coordinator with Clark County.
Good morning, Michael Torres, Clark County Community Services Program Manager.
I'm Glenn Young, Clark County Council District 1, also chair of the UCPB.
Ron Onslow from Ridgefield, Washington. I'm a counselor.
Dave Scott, City of West Hugo, City Manager.
Okay, Cherish?
Jim Hodges, City Council.
Alan Westerson, City of Camas.
Janet Konevsky, Greater Vancouver Chamber.
Emily Lutz?
Marina Beret, Tanabianco. Emily Lutz, City of Battleground.
Grant Williams, City of Ridgefield.
Cherish DeRocher, the City of Battleground.
Hi, it's Jeff Swanson representing the City of the Center.
Are there any other board members who haven't introduced yourselves yet? Okay, let's go ahead with all of our guests. I think I'm a little out of order, but I don't think we've heard Carmen.
Good morning, Carmen Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber.
Becca?
Good morning, Rebecca Porter, Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber as well.
Tim?
Hi, Tim Foley, 77 Housing.
Talia? Scott?
Hi, Scott Conger, Jancy.
John? I'm totally not sure who we've gotten anymore yet.
John McDonough. He was up there a moment ago.
Okay.
I don't know.
Are there any other guests who haven't introduced yourselves yet? You can just go ahead.
Good morning, this is Katie Ulrich at Proud Ground.
Mark Hersig, City of Battleground.
Gina Van Dyken, Lifeline Connections.
On Lifeline Connections.
John McDonough, are you able to hear us? Oh, it looks like maybe he doesn't have a microphone.
Yeah, he was on camera.
Okay.
Or he is on camera. Microphone showing green.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Yep, we can hear you now. Go ahead. Great. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. We have a great opportunity today to hear our presentations for this year's applicants for CDBG and home funding. And what we will go ahead and move forward with is an approval for the January 9th, 2023 meeting minutes, which should have been emailed out to everybody. Is there any discussion before we take a move for a vote on them? Sounds like not. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Motion to
I move we
accept
approve the minutes.
as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Are there any comments before we take a vote? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And are there any opposed? Measure passes. Thank you for that. And with that, we'll go ahead and move into our presentations and question and answers for the 2023 CDBG and home funding applicants. And Emily will go ahead and introduce each applicant, and then we will hear from them. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start with the city of Ridgefield.
Are you guys ready?
Wow, that's can we turn that down? You're real loud, Grant.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, but it's really loud.
I'll try to talk quiet then. I'll whisper. So I'm Grant Williams. I'm our Capital Projects Program Manager for the City of Ridgefield. Thank you, Board, for the opportunity to present our proposal for our Hall and Elm Street project that we have in downtown Ridgefield. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is a diagram showing some of our recent CDBG projects that the city of Ridgefield has done. Most recently, we just completed the 8th and Simons project near downtown Ridgefield, which was new water lines, some drainage improvements, street improvements, and new sidewalks. We also in 2019 did South 8th on the other side, that same deal. We did new water line, drainage improvements, street improvements, and new sidewalks. It for some reason didn't make it on here, but we had one that I believe was in 2020 that was South 3rd Avenue and Sargent Street, which was also a CDBG project that we did the same, new water line, drainage improvements, new sidewalks, etc. Up to the north, you can see here in Maine is where our Hall and Elm project is proposed, which the same thing as some new water line improvements, drainage improvements, street improvements, and new sidewalks. We also have a CDBG project that's going out to bid this spring. That is around G Creek Loop, which is drainage improvements, pavement improvements, pedestrian safety improvements. Can we go to the next slide? So this is kind of an overview of the project that we have here on Hall and Elm Street, where you can see that we're going to add new water lines into the area. We're going to install some new sidewalks where we don't currently have them, as well as tackle some of the drainage issues that we have in this area. Currently, there is really no drainage in this area right now. So stormwater improvements would be a big benefit to this area down there. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is showing where we're going to improve the water line. You can kind of see some of the existing conditions of these streets down there, the lack of drainage, the lack of sidewalks in the area. These are all things that we hope to accomplish partnering with CDBG on this project to try to make some of these improvements in this area. We can go to the next slide. This is just, again, some examples that we've used in the past of not necessarily our projects, but doing the enhanced bioretention facilities next to the roadway to treat our stormwater, take care of a bunch of those drainage areas that we have in the area that, is very aesthetically pleasing. So again, just thank you guys for the opportunity to present on this and consideration of this project. And I'll open it up if you guys have any questions.
Hi, this is Ron Onslow. I would just like to, and I'm from Ridgefield also, so just for your information, that street is really not a street. It's, I mean, it's a street, but it's not paved. There's no stormwater, there's no sidewalks. Every house that I went to, that I talked to about their financial survey that we took, they were pretty ecstatic about the fact that we were going to do something. This is Old Town. It hasn't been touched in all the years that I've been in Ridgefield, which is over 15, and so it is absolutely necessary that we do something down there because it's so bad.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that with what Ron's saying. One of the challenges we have in a lot of this downtown area, without having stormwater infrastructure in place to go address these roads, we have to do something with stormwater. Otherwise, it's going to end up in front yards or crawl spaces or basements. So this is a great opportunity for us to partner and address the stormwater issues, which will allow us to enhance the road and bring the road back to a serviceable condition for the residents.
Are there any other questions or comments for this particular project? Okay, Emily?
Okay, we'll move on to City Battleground.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Kersig. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Battleground. I'm going to present our presentation for our 2023 CDBG request for our Northeast First Street sidewalk improvements. Next slide. Outline of my presentation, one back, please. We'll do a kind of overview of the project. We'll do project objectives, what our request is, what our schedule will be, and then a chance for any questions. Next slide. So you can see what we're requesting is sidewalk improvements along Northeast First Street between Northeast 3rd Avenue and Central Park. What we see a lot of in this area is kids heading to Battleground High School. And because there's no sidewalk in this area, they'll walk in the middle of the street. And so that's an issue we're trying to address. In 2016, we had a CDBG grant that completed the first phase from Parkway to 3rd. So this will connect it to Central Park. One of the kind of side benefits of this is recently we installed a mid-block crossing in Old Town. You can see it there on the map. So people will be able to walk from the south side through Central Park and get to this connection. Next slide, please. Objectives of this project are providing safe and accessible walking from the high school and Central Park for the neighborhoods, residents, and the students. What we'll do is construct about 600 feet of sidewalk, which will include the curb and gutter, planter strip, ADA ramp, street lighting, and the associated stormwater improvements. Our desired outcome is that students and residents not having to walk in the middle of the street. Project serves low moderate income, which is estimated at about 935 people in that neighborhood, and add the ADA facilities. Next slide. So our request is, engineer's estimate is 400,000. So we're requesting 200,000, which means the city would provide a 50% match. We're requesting construction funds only. In the picture here, you can see First Street. This is by Central Park. And so we'd be adding a sidewalk on the right side of this picture. Next slide. Our schedule, so we can start up quickly after the agreement with the county is completed. We think design will take about 4 months. Advertise and award will take 1 to 2 months, and then construction for 4 months. As you can see on the picture, this is from you. So in this case, the sidewalk would be on the left side in the picture, and you can see just the edge of the previous improvements there, which it will connect to. Next slide. That's everything I have, so be happy to answer any questions.
Mark, this is Ron Onslow. It connects with a former CDBG project?
Yeah, so the on that last picture you saw kind of on the left-hand side, it will connect to that sidewalk project, which took it from the high school at Parkway over to 3rd Avenue. And so that will continue on from there over to Central Park.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions for Mark? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we have City of Camas.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Alan Westerson, and I'm an engineer with the City of Camas, and I just want to walk you through the project we're proposing on Northwest Benton Street between Northwest 14th and Northwest 16th Avenue, and I want to describe why I think that it deserves to receive CDBG funding. Next slide, please. The project is within Census Tract 414, Group 2, less than half a mile from downtown. It's adjacent to a subsidized senior living facility and is 2 blocks west of Crown Park. This is the largest park in the city, and it's continuously busy because it has multiple playgrounds, picnic tables, tennis courts, and a large covered area that the city uses for concerts and for showing movies during the summer. The city's plan to construct significant upgrades. The city's plan to construct significant upgrades within the next couple years, and these will include a splash pad. Previous slide, please. It'll include a splash pad, an inclusive playground, an amphitheater, and sports courts. And all of these additions will increase the number of people using the park and the number of pedestrians. So that makes it especially important that we bring all the nearby infrastructure up to date. The neighborhood that we're planning to construct this project in was constructed as early as 1913, with most of it being built around 1926. The roadway and underground utilities were built at the same time, and they're definitely showing their age. So the goal of this project is to reconstruct the road and bring sidewalks and curb ramps up to date, and also replace the sanitary sewer line that is clogged multiple times. If you can take it to the next slide, please. The primary deficiencies that the city wants to correct with this project include the severely damaged asphalt pavement, curb, sidewalk, and curb ramps. The curb ramps and the sidewalk don't meet current ADA standards and need complete replacement. This is especially important because we expect pedestrian traffic to increase as the proposed Crown Park improvements go in. The concrete sewer line was installed in 1926, and it's backed up multiple times due to broken joints and root intrusion in the clay laterals. We've also discovered that multiple homes have been connected to single laterals, which is a problem because it increases the likelihood of backups and also creates ownership issues for the homeowners if the laterals need to be serviced or repaired. Next slide, please. Okay, so here are some photos showing the general conditions of the proposed site. On the top left, we're standing at the northern edge of the project looking to the south. You can see some of the damaged roadway as well as trench patches that are in the intersection there. You can see how, the cracking is pretty significant, and that's just going to lead to more water intrusion and increased damage to the road if we're not able to address it sometime soon. Top right is a pretty general depiction of how the sidewalk looks, through most of this site. Lots of cracks, lots of raised and dropped sections, not to mention the ADA ramps, which aren't even close to meeting the current standards. Bottom left, you can see more damaged sidewalk, and if you look on the right, you see all those sandbags Those sandbags are replacing the curb that has deteriorated basically into just little pebbles. Bottom right, another depiction of the general condition of the roadway there. You see localized alligator cracking, which means that the subgrade has failed. Next slide, please. So here's a diagram of the improvements that we would propose if we do receive the funding. It would include 11,300 square feet of asphalt, approximately about 660 feet of curb, 4,500 square feet of sidewalk, 7 curb ramps, and replacement of 230 linear feet of sanitary sewer pipe. One uncommon cost-saving measure that we would be using is we would construct the roadway using cement amendment of the subgrade instead of excavating and replacing all the base material. This significantly reduces labor and material and also reduces overall project cost. And it's a method that we've used in multiple CDBG projects in the last decade, and it's proven to create a great, really strong waterproof roadway in a minimal amount of time. If you can go to the next slide, please. So the funding request is $280,000, and this would be for the street and sidewalk and curb ramps. The city would be contributing $135,000 in matching funds for the sanitary construction, as well as miscellaneous costs that include survey, in-house design, preliminary studies, and construction management. The city's matching funds come in at 32% of the project cost. Next slide. So if any of you have any questions, I would be quite happy to answer them now.
Here's Ron Onslow. The city of Camas handles their own sewer, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, just a fun fact of whatever you want, not very fun, but we were, one of our customers in this Old Town area was having a trouble with their sewer backing up, so we pulled the street up, or actually the access to the street, and the pipe was gone. It was, all that nice clay was still working and occasionally backing up. So it's nice to see you going to try to get some of that cement out of there before it disintegrates.
This is Glenn Young. I do have a question. You know, you mentioned that there were several party lines connected to the sewer. I'm curious, the scope of the project, does that connect those individual property owners with their own lateral, or does it just create a lateral that the property owner is going to have to connect to at their own expense?
Well, it's actually going to depend on, I guess, how far their lateral goes before it tees into the other one. Any costs, you know, that are accrued outside of the city right away, those will be costs that the city or that the homeowner is going to be responsible for.
Is that creating a situation where they are essentially forced to have an unexpected expense? Is there measures being taken to mitigate that at all?
We're going to give them advance notice. You know, but again, we're not going to know exactly how much lateral may have to be installed or replaced. It is something that we're going to tell them ahead of time, but it is, you know, something that's required by the code that each home has its own separate lateral. So we'll do our best to try to give them warning, and we'll keep them updated as soon as we know how much line will have to go in.
Jim Hodges here, just to supplement the response. We'll put new laterals in for all the existing homes. We'll work with homeowners on you know, getting things hooked up when they can. I mean, we're not going to pressure anybody to put in a sewer lateral that they can't afford right now. So we've had problems up there with service calls, and we found out that we've got 2 or 3 houses hooked up to a single lateral, and it's causes some tension between the neighbors, I guess. And if we can find a solution to that, we're gonna work to get it resolved.
Thank you. I know that's a very messy situation when that comes up. It does create real problems among neighbors and figuring out who's responsible for what. So appreciate those answers. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on.
So next we have the City of Washougal.
Okay, I'll be handling this one. So our application this year is at Hamlick Park, and this is probably going to be familiar for all of the UCPB participants. Can move on. So just a little orientation. You can see toward the south, SR 14, and to the north of that is Evergreen Way, and the Burlington Northern Rail Line is just to the south of Evergreen Way. So this neighborhood is called the Addy neighborhood, and it is eligible census tract. It's bordered by the state route to the south, as I said, and BNSF line to the north. Hamlick Park is shown in red, and that just gives you an orientation. It's at the very far east of the City of Washougal. Lost the presentation.
Give us one moment, everyone. We're going to get back to presentation.
It says end of show or something, like it jumped all the way. Oh, that's weird. Interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I think this is the slide after the one that we just did. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yes, that's great. Yeah, so just further orientation, that's an aerial photo. It shows the park and the neighborhood. And yeah, it looks like that every day in the bottom right at Hamlick Park after a successful CDBG award. Yeah. Next slide, please. So a little background on the park. As I mentioned, Hamlick Park is in a neighborhood that's in an eligible census tract. There's families located all around the park. There's been a lot of program investment in this area. As you'll probably all remember, there's some apartment complexes close by, including Gateway Garden. That's received some funding from this program. It's a HUD facility operated by our partners at Reach Community Development. There's a couple of manufactured home parks. One is immediately contiguous to this park, and as I mentioned, we've had prior investments for sidewalks and for the housing in this neighborhood. Next slide, please. So this shows those previous investments. All the yellow rectangles are prior sidewalk improvements that have been made over the last 10 years. There are sidewalks that were done earlier than the last 10 years to help folks in this neighborhood get out to shopping and transit. And we did have some award at Hamlick Park previously, a couple of years ago, and the red shows those Gateway apartments, which are HUD-supported units literally right across the street from this park. Next slide, please. So we've done some survey work in the neighborhood, and the things that were at the top of the list, we've been able to complete a couple of those, updating the playground with support from this program, which was really appreciated, and some other work. But a basketball court is something that we weren't able to do, and this was a little local survey, and we had 94 respondents, so we thought that was a pretty good response. So we're trying to be responsive to this neighborhood. Next slide, please. So we did a grant a couple of years ago, and you can see a lot of dones there. We did the playground, picnic tables, benches, and trash receptacles. We were able to do some building repairs, except we weren't able to do the dugouts at the ball field because, as we've all experienced, costs have really escalated. We were able to do irrigation. And the two key elements that we weren't able to get to because of cost escalations were bike park repairs and enhancements and a half-court basketball. Next slide, please. So that brings us back to those that we are looking to do some additional work, so that half-court basketball pending this request, also some sidewalks and ramps pending this request. And so this was last year's grant where, because of the cost issues from 2021, we pushed the half-court basketball, added in the sidewalks, and then we had some other ideas, so we're back this year kind of with an enhanced project. Next slide. So our request for 2023 is to restore the items that were in the 2021 request that weren't able to be done because of cost issues, make the court a full court basketball court, and then take care of some ramps getting into the park. And you can see the financials there, the sidewalks. The court is the significant part of the project, a little bit for the dugout repair and the bike park fixes for a total project cost of $239. We're matching at $60,000, and we have a prior award from last year of $50,000, so all of that together leaves a $129,000 request for this year. And this just shows the elements in more detail. The lighting makes it kind of hard for me to see that, but the blue markings reflect where we're going to fix some of the bike park elements, and I'll have some photos of that in a second. The green markings are the dugouts, pretty straightforward, and then sort of like an orange or a yellow, you can see a couple of locations where we're going to take care of ramps from the parking lot to the sidewalk and from the sidewalk to the court. And you can see where the basketball court would be located tentatively. Next slide, please. So these are the existing dugouts. You can see they're not looking so great, and there's a model of what one could look like in the top right. Next slide, please. This is the pump track. I never knew what that was until we started this project. It's a cool little thing that kids in the neighborhood can use. You can see it's rotting and deteriorated. It's not really safe, so we've taken some of that stuff out. Next slide, please. And come back with different materials so that there'll be a little bit better longevity, so that they'll have these opportunities without it rotting. And then your classic ADA sidewalks, you guys have seen many of these. There's just a couple of those ramps in the locations that were shown. Next slide. And these are examples of what a court could look like. You know, a half court provides opportunities for kids in the neighborhood to play. If you have a full court, you can get, you know, more than one opportunity there, and a little more expanded recreation programming potentially, where you could have more kids involved from the neighborhood if we can get a larger court. So that's kind of the motivation for that. And that's it. Thank you.
The parking, this Ron again. The parking is two pieces right on the lower right-hand corner of this video. Yeah, parking.
Yeah, there's some parking, I think, at the southeast, like you saw, and then the street parking.
And how many do you have there for that? And is it adequate?
This is primarily a neighborhood park, and I think most people don't drive there. Anytime I've been there, I haven't seen significant utilization of the parking lot, but from time to time, folks will come, you know, where they want to bring their car, but it's primarily a neighborhood park. It's not a regional park.
Okay.
But yeah, there is a little bit of parking there.
Is that the one where you had bike, whatever you call it?
Yeah, the pump track.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there were a couple of photos, I think. Yeah, look, you can see some of the existing stuff. Those are all photos from Hamlick Park, and it's not looking so great anymore. So
the kids like that though?
Oh my gosh, yeah, yep. Get a lot of positive feedback from our partners at Reach for this project, and just from the neighborhood. We were really pleased. You know, we did a little survey right in the neighborhood. I think Reach helped us with that. But it's pretty compact right there. We got 94 folks in the neighborhood that responded to a survey, and I don't know what response rate that is, but we're basically trying to put in exactly what they've asked for in that neighborhood park.
Were those old tracks, were they elevated?
If you go back,
it's hard to tell from those pictures.
Slightly.
Slightly?
Like
Okay.
a little, you can see a little bit of shadow there, you know, it's a few inches.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not, that'd be cool if they were, but it's probably our insurance people would like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, that scares me as being a parent. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, definitely need a helmet. I'm glad that photo shows someone with a helmet on.
I have a quick question. This is Tracy, City of Woodland.
Yes.
Can you tell me what is the size of the park?
Oh, gosh. Can you go back to the photo? Help me.
Acre or?
You know, that's a couple acres maybe.
Okay.
You know, it looks like it fits about 10 to 15 of those lots maybe.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with if it's a little league baseball field or full size.
No, that's just a little field. Yeah.
Little league.
I don't think the little league. I don't know that they use that, but different folks go on there. Yeah, it's not a full size ball field. Maybe softballish.
No, I think it looks good. Thank you.
Yep.
I think we're doing good on the schedule, so I have a question. It's not completely related to this, but I'm curious, you know, those little, you know, pieces of property that are the park that go through, they're cut through to the street, do those tend to be a positive thing for the neighborhood? Do they like having that access, or because I know that sometimes it creates problems where, you know, kind of safety issues. I don't know what you're contending with over there.
You know, I'm not aware of any specific issues in this location,
Okay.
but I'm familiar with that general issue. Often, particularly when something like that wasn't fully developed, but it was in an earlier phase, and then you get some folks living there, and then a second phase comes in, and then it starts to become something that gets utilized more. You start to hear a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Often the folks that are immediately contiguous, right, there's a fence usually on either side that they'll construct, and yeah, they're worried about what happens there, so lighting is important potentially, maybe low-level lighting.
Yeah.
I'm not aware that we're having significant issues there, and but it's great for connectivity. I mean, we all kind of require those dynamics when we're doing planning, connectivity for bike, ped, and then also streets, right? But it's a classic argument that hearings examiners hear when folks who are existing in there and new phases or projects come in, they're always concerned about connections of streets, peds, and bikes through their existing neighborhoods. Unless it's going to get them somewhere cool, and then they might be, oh, now we have this new park or something like that. Then that kind of mitigates that. But I've worked in other communities where there were a couple of locations where there were some challenges. It was a regional park. And actually, I lived in the neighborhood. There was something almost very similar to what you're seeing here, and there were some issues, you know, because it was a regional park, so it wasn't, you know, just the neighborhood kids that you could kind of deal with. It was folks coming from who knows where, maybe up to a little mischief. So public safety's important. Yep.
Okay,
So
looks like we move on. Thank you.
Tim Hodges, City of Camas. I used to live in this neighborhood a number of years ago, and kind of off to the north, east, I guess, or west. Anyway, the accesses to the parks were really well used. They were taken care of. I think people in the neighborhood really appreciated having the park there, and it's been it definitely gets a lot of use from the neighborhood, which is yeah, it's just it's a really kind of the center of the neighborhood. It brings a lot of people together there. It's really a super nice feature and one that people appreciate a lot. I think that's probably indicated in the amount of response you got, Dave, from your survey.
Sorry, you're gonna have to say that again.
I was just going to ask you, Jim, if there were any negatives, as the counselor was asking about. It sounds like it was all positive having that connection when you were there, at least.
It was, especially with smaller kids, which my kids were little at the time. And we were able to come through that easement kind of as the map's oriented, assuming up as north from the northwest corner there through that area. You know, so it was just, I think it really increased the amount of use that it got because it made it really accessible for people. And you can't see it in this current image, but there's a cul-de-sac with a good group of houses up in that area to the northwest that just provided real easy access. Never heard of any problems, and never saw anything that would indicate there was a problem.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to the next presentation.
Okay, so that was the end of our public facilities and neighborhood improvement presentations, and we're moving on to asset and economic development with the Greater Vancouver Chamber.
Good morning. Again, my name is John McDonough. I'm the President and CEO at the Greater Vancouver Chamber, and here along with Janet Konefsky, our Vice President of Operations and Membership. And we're just very excited to bring this opportunity to request CDBG funding. And I'm going to let Janet run through the slides because she can get through them a lot quicker than I can. So, Janet.
Great. Thank you. And that's because I talk faster. So we'll definitely leave some time for questions afterward. We're here talking about our Business Pod program. Just some of the staff, I wanted to make sure we had some of the staff that represent the region here at the Chamber up in Southwest Washington. We can go to the next. So when I think most of the people on here are familiar with different chambers of commerce, but we're really designed to be the driving force in growth in the region. We took a look at what was happening with the pandemic in our small businesses. And it's probably no surprise that there's a profound impact on small businesses that the pandemic had, and many have struggled to adapt. Those that are established businesses have struggled to adapt to a lot of rapid changes in the business community. And most notably, we're talking about digital transformations. We've seen a really big accelerated shift towards digital first businesses. And that can be difficult for those that are working in our small businesses up and down Main Street and throughout the community. And then we're also looking at financial management and other health and safety protocols that have been put in place. And making sure our small businesses and those that are looking to build small businesses have the opportunity to look at creating financial stability, but also putting in the training and management and budgeting and forecasting in order to help navigate not just coming out of the pandemic, but hopefully to be able to withstand the next crisis in the business community. Slide. So the Greater Vancouver Chamber has a program called Business Pod, and that's the Pathways to Opportunity and Development, specifically designed to tackle these issues with our small businesses, micro businesses, and those that are looking at business formation on how to start up. Slide. So when we look at the Business Pod, we look at different opportunities that companies can learn and different times that companies can learn. So when we're looking at our small businesses, oftentimes we don't see them out in the business community at networking events. We don't see them out getting to know one another because they're usually in their shop, in their business, in their restaurant, trying to figure out how to make each day work from day to day. So one of the programs that we put together, this Business Pod, was really created to offer professional and individual assistance to these business owners and these small business owners when they need it most, when they can take some time away and really tailor it around their schedules to work with entrepreneurs. And this is throughout Southwest Washington. Next slide. So our objectives here is to provide affordable, no-cost business assistance to those who need it. So we first built this program in conjunction with the CDBG in the City of Vancouver. So really focusing on those that are low and medium income. And we were surprised at the amount of response that we received from going live with that in the beginning of 2022. And really looking at what do these companies need, whether you're starting up a food truck, whether you've been in business for 5 to 8 years and are struggling or just coming out of the pandemic, or you're looking at that second phase in your career that you've worked somewhere and maybe they've shut down, but you've had an idea that you wanted to bring to life that can really solve something, some passion that they have in the business community, or solve something. It could be a nonprofit organization looking to start up, tackling some symptom that COVID gave the rest of the business community. So really looking at that individualized experience, but also making sure that companies have an opportunity to meet with one another. And so we're looking at a cohort section where companies can build community within themselves as they're growing their businesses was really important to us as well. Next slide. So one of the things that we talked about early on with the pandemic, or really with any type of business assistance, it can be very easy for a company to sign up for programs with any of our organizations. And we point to a slide that says, or point to a website that says, go here to the Secretary of State website. This is where you learn how to start a business. We find that that's a lot of what organizations can handle, is providing resources by pointing them to websites. We take a little different approach. We sit down with the companies, we make them do homework, we make them talk about the business formation, the legal formations, and why they choose an S Corp, a B Corp, an LLC. So they have more investment into their education when they're looking at building their business. So we look at where a company comes to us in an intake process, and then we design something specifically for them. So if they're coming in as an electrician, they might need to know how to find your customer journey, where do you identify how to spend your resources, your limited resources on your marketing, or maybe how do you get better financial statements so that you can secure any type of loan that you need for growth or expansion of your business. Next slide. So we offer educational workshops, individual coaching, and cohort sessions, and this is to meet the needs of the companies that come to us and what they need from us at the time of intake. Next slide. We are seeing success. So I wanted to talk about the CDBG in Vancouver success really quick. We were overwhelmed with the amount of responses that we received for assistance. And this is with paid marketing directed towards the city of Vancouver. So we knew that the city of Vancouver CDBG required us to go within the city limits and not out into the county. So we did our paid marketing and really structured it towards meeting with city of Vancouver parameters. But we were really surprised that the overwhelming response, not just to the city of Vancouver, those that had businesses or households, but those that were all around Clark County that came to us from La Center and Ridgefield and Battleground and Washougal. So we knew that there was an increased demand that we could not meet with the CDBG Vancouver specifically grant, which is why we're here to ask for CDBG in the county. When we look at the BIPOC community participating and reaching out, we were pleasantly surprised that the marketing and the partnerships that we have across the region were really able to hit a number of communities that were most in need. So we did see a good number of those that we were helping in the city of Vancouver that were signing up, really a diverse group of individuals looking for assistance. So next slide. I went through this. So Clark County demand is high. One of the things that we've done, you're fine. One of the things that we've done in the last year is really figure out how do we connect with individuals who are not part of your regular downtown corridor. So for us, when we look at who gets access to information, who gets access to grants, it's typically the people that know the people, right? The people that are connected to the business community, but we're leaving off a lot of the community who do not use social media, who are not connected to those that are in the downtown corridor, as we call them. So we've started a lot of partnerships out in the region, really focusing on some of those individuals in the refugee community and some of those individuals in the Eastern European community who are out there needing assistance, working in households with very low income, but maybe 4 or 5 individuals in the household just looking at starting up a business that they used to have maybe before they immigrated here as a refugee to the U.S. So a lot of outreach and partnerships have escalated a lot of the need and the partnerships coming to us, helping different small businesses throughout Clark County to provide assistance. And so those are, for us, typically not your typical companies that we all know or partner with, again, who have easy access to services in the downtown corridor. We're looking at keeping it streamlined for funding, really looking at putting the funding into the business consultants themselves so they can increase the number of hours that they do in order to conduct the rest of the intake and take on Clark County companies through our business consulting. So we have two line items for business experts, and then one resource consultant to help with scheduling all those intakes and various events and the different cohorts that are going on. And that's all that we're asking for. And then the chamber will be matching it and providing all of the marketing and the paid social marketing and outreach seminars and presentations for this program. So, and we are targeting 100 people with 0 to 80 within the parameters of the CDBG grant. Slide to tell you can trust us. Happy to take any questions.
Janet, this is Ron Onslow. This is for the county, and the city of Vancouver is separate through another CDBG request?
Correct. Yeah. So these would be kept separately. Currently, we're running a CDBG for the city of Vancouver, and we have an intake that's on our website and through our marketing for that particular resource. And we were overwhelmed with the responses that we received from county businesses that we couldn't help with the CDBG grant. So this is one of the reasons why. So those two will be separate.
With the other small cities, then, do you work with the chamber there, or how do you determine who do you work with?
Yeah, so we work with anybody in the region. As a regional chamber, we work with anybody in the region. One of the things we do with partners that are also working on CDBG efforts, just like we do in Vancouver, if there's somebody that's getting funding or looking for resources from another organization that currently provides it, we'll hand them off to that organization so that they can get better assistance. Right now, there's no business assistance or consulting services for those businesses in any of the regional chambers. But some of them do have programs that will encourage the companies that go through our program to reach out to their local city government, their local chamber, if it's a chamber in Camas, Washougal, or Ridgefield, Kelso Longview. So yeah, the partnerships for us are very important, so that when they're going through a program like this and getting the assistance in Clark County, that they continue to build that network where they are in order to solidify the resources they have available to them as businesses.
And what's the total request?
Total request is 71,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question. Are CDBG funds the only source of funding for this particular program?
So for the next 8-9 months, we are utilizing ARPA funds. So we did receive ARPA funds for the entirety of the county. And this CDBG will allow us to pick up where ARPA leaves off in contract into the 2024 year. It's a good question.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great.
We'll go ahead and move on.
Wonderful, thanks.
Thank you, Janet. So next we have the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber.
Good morning again. I'm Carmen Castro with the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber. Thank you for this opportunity to present to you our services that we are honored to have been serving the Clark County since 2017 is what I was looking, even as early as 2015. So wanted to get started. Next slide. Could we have the next slide?
Yeah, sorry, Carmen, give me 1 second. It looks like my presentation disconnected again.
Oh, no worries. Thank you, Emily. So the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber has been a leader for the Hispanic community since 1993, 1994. So last year in 2022, we changed our statement instead that to change it to leading all economic advancement, just recognizing that that's what we do. And of course, with the vision of closing the Latino economic equity gap. And acknowledging as well the continued growth in Clark County, which is a minimum of 10% since the last census. Go ahead, next slide. And I wanted to show that our board of directors, we have folks that are based out of Vancouver, including folks from, there's 3 of them really, small businesses, large businesses, just US Bank, and small business such as Bridge City, and also folks from who are solopreneurs. So currently we have 3 board members that are based out of Clark County. Next slide. And our staff, we have 3 members of our staff that are based in Vancouver. We moved last year to accommodate our clients. We now are close to Vancouver Mall, which is easier for parking in and arriving to the location, because our small businesses had advised that that was a barrier to access service. So we made that possible for them so we can have more of them come and receive services at our office. Next slide. So we continue with our programs of scholarship, leadership, and small business development. And today we're particularly focusing on small business development. Next slide. This is scholarship. We also advise folks that own businesses, if should they have kids who are headed to college, that we can help them by having them enroll in this program. Next slide. We also provide leadership development, and this is further up for folks that are already in the workforce. And it's a cohort-based professional development. So next slide. So the small business development, what do we offer? We have been offering a few programs from the head, from the get-go. We do one-on-one. Our services are in Spanish. Our staff that provides this small business development is bilingual and bicultural. Many of them are Mexican American, which is the predominant population in Clark County. And we do have intake services, and then we are able to either direct them to a program that we have with the City of Vancouver or with Clark County in this case. And we do also customize business development programming for them. We have the one-on-one to assist them with licensing, development, marketing materials, financial statements, and we also have 2 workshops every month, specifically for those that are trying to start a business and want to learn more. And then for those that are further down the development path, we have one that is a specialty such as, lending, business plan, marketing services. And starting this year, 2023, we obtained a grant from WSMA, and WSMA is Washington State Microenterprises Association, and they are providing us with the resources to offer Clark County small businesses who are Hispanic the ability to learn about digital resources. So we will have small groups of folks that will be able to learn about how to use the internet for applications, how to use Facebook, and this will be conducted in Spanish. So there'll be a variety of resources that we're able to obtain to further energize our program with Clark County. Next. Since inception of our programs is 2003, we have served nearly 5,000 businesses, 95% Latino. Most of them are monolingual, meaning that they prefer service to be provided in Spanish. 54% are women-owned, and 80% of those businesses are small. They have under 5 employees, with many of them having as many just as 1 or 2 employees as well. Next. So here, Clark County says 2019, but that was an error when we were updating this presentation. So I went back to the records. I've been ED at the Hispanic Chamber since 2020, but I became aware of proposals we did all the way to 2015. And as you know, the proposals are made for a year prior. So I saw information that we've been collaborating with Clark County since 2016, 2017, and further. The advantage that we have, obviously, that we have those services, and we have the office in Vancouver and many long-standing community relationships that we continue to increase and participate in, so to fortify our outreach into the community. Next slide. Here features Ron Gurr, who has been providing services, and he is bilingual and bicultural. Next slide. Here's an example of success story where Martha's Flowers is in the county, and she had, we worked on an expansion plan for her social media presence, which she didn't have, pricing and how to set her prices in her shop, and also a more fully fledged business plan, how to move forward and expand. Next. From COVID, during COVID times, we continued providing services at our office and also online. And now we have more folks arriving in the office for one-on-one personal services because the community, by and large, prefers to see who's helping them to create more of a bond and more relationship. It's a cultural aspect for us Hispanics that we prefer to do the one-on-one service, although we also have the classes where they are online. So people can receive information from their own homes and sometimes it's best for them since they're so busy working on their businesses the full day and to receive those services in the evening when they're at home. That's the time that these services are provided. Next. So here's a list of some of our partners, and we continue to grow that as some of the partners have returned to higher activity. Once that COVID has receded, we expect to participate in more community events that are in person, therefore to provide more outreach that way, although we do provide outreach online through our social platforms. And we recognize that the community thrives with in-person events, but also is plugged in to our platforms, especially Facebook and Instagram. Next. Just a sample of some of our partners that have collaborated with us that are particularly located in Southwest Washington. We have worked hard also to collaborate with an initiative for self, in this case for childcare, which is much needed everywhere really, and others such as Twin Star, WSU Vancouver, and some small businesses. We also collaborate with Washington State, the Department of Commerce, and the Clark College, and many others that are located in Clark County. So in essence, we ask for your support of our programs. The need continues to be high. We continue to adapt to offer those existing programs, and we have added the new digital program that folks that are part of this program, specifically the CDBG program with Clark County, will be able to also benefit from that. So at this time, I appreciate your support and I'm open to questions.
This is Tracy with the City of Woodland. Quick question for you. You mentioned that you provide workshops 2 times per month to your business owners. And you also talked about the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, various websites. Do you make it mandatory that those that you provide funding to or counseling to or assistance attend these workshops on a regular basis? I know from past presentations, you stated that you do follow up with them with their business plan, make sure they're on track. But are there workshops that you make it mandatory that they go to make sure that they're using these platforms?
They're not mandatory, although we strongly suggest if somebody's calling us for the first time and they're interested in opening a business, that they do attend the How to Start Your Business, Cómo Empezar Su Negocio, to ensure that they at least attend that so they can see some of the information that is necessary for them to have before they go any further. This allows them to get focused on what it takes. Should we, for instance, in the past, through Department of Commerce, we offered a financial literacy class, or with them, we then had them follow 2 classes in order to complete a series of 2 classes, for instance, because we felt that one was not enough for them to get a full picture of what we were trying to teach. And so that was the only time where we wanted them to have those 2 classes and to receive then additional instruction. So if it's part of a series, yes, we would require it for them to get the full benefit. But we do follow up with everyone that attends. They are required to register so we know who they are, where they are. So then we can offer them the other complement of services and to make sure that they are on the right path.
Great, thank you for that answer. And then one follow-up question. What percentage of Latino must you be in order to receive your services, and or do you offer to anybody outside of the Latino community?
We focus on the Latino community. We don't measure percentages. that we will not turn away anyone. That's been a cardinal rule for the Hispanic Chamber. We have had clients of other heritage. We basically are focusing on the community because we do have a team of bilingual and bicultural, but by that means that our staff speaks English well. Many are local college graduates whose parents are first generation or themselves are first generation going to college, so that we can serve people in English and Spanish, but our focus is on the Hispanic community and our doors are open.
Thank you.
Carmen, it's Ron Onslow. What was the request that you have? I assume that we're going to receive all of that, but what is the request you're asking for?
The request is for $80,000 for a year of services for one FTE, one full-time business advisor. And the chamber also provides funds for outreach. And we also seek other partners to further, that is not part of the 80,000. Of course, we are constantly looking for more services that we can add to the community, but the 80,000 is primarily for funding one full FTE, although that does not cover in full those services.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, next we have Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon. And I do not have a presentation for you, but you can go ahead and speak now if there's someone online. Just checking that everybody online can actually hear me.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So it looks like we might be missing Micro Enterprise Services. So let's go ahead and move on to Proud Ground.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thanks for having me. So my name's Katie, and I am the Homeownership Program Director at Proud Ground. Next slide, please. And Proud Ground is the largest community land trust in the Pacific Northwest, and actually one of the largest in the country. We are also a HUD-approved housing counseling agency, and since 1999, we've helped over 550 first-time homebuyers purchase their first homes. And in our community land trust model, our homeowners receive a reduced sales price and agree to maintain the affordability for the next home buyer. So while they are still building wealth through homeownership, our homeowners help future generations of home buyers have access to affordable homes. Next slide. So through this model, Proud Ground, to ensure the permanent affordability, owns the land under the home and leases the land to the home buyer. The home buyer, in turn, owns the house on top of their land and gets the benefits of stability through home ownership. With our funding request this year in Clark County, we would help Clark County. We would hold information sessions with Clark County home buyers. Education, we'd provide education and counseling to help them become mortgage ready. And with the Clark County funding, we would provide down payment assistance to the families to ensure that they are successful in purchasing a home. And then the home that enters the program, if it ever resells in the future, Proud Ground's program would ensure that it's resold to another low or moderate income home buyer. Next slide. So our work in Clark County has been impactful. We've helped a total of 22 home buyers purchase homes in Clark County to date. and a majority of them are households of color, have children, and their average median income is at 63%. And our waiting list, with these funds, we are hopeful we will help an additional 4 families, and these are the demographics of the families waiting to purchase a home. Next slide. And as you know, there's a need for affordable homeownership opportunities in Clark County. The current median sales price, or at the time of application, was over $500,000. And the families listed below here are actual families that we've helped create stability through homeownership in Clark County. So many of them work in the healthcare field or service industry, and they are families with children earning, you know, roughly between about $45,000 and $75,000 per year. Next slide, please. We've also seen that permanent affordability works. We've actually managed 2 resales of homes that already entered our program through this partnership. And one of them sold last year. And as you can see here, I know this is a lot of numbers, but you know, the homes basically did increase in value, but through the permanent affordability community land trust model, we were able to help a new low to moderate income home buyer purchase those homes at an affordable price. So the county, the funding that the county invested in the first home buyer back in 2015 actually went on to serve 2 more families without additional resources needed. Next slide. So our request this year is for $300,000 to help 4 new home buyers. We would leverage the county funding with a Washington Housing Trust Fund award that we have received, and the home buyer themselves would come in with a mortgage or a loan that they could afford. And we are able to offer this service and provide the home buyer all the support for the home buyer education and counseling with a program delivery cost of $8,000 per home buyer. And now I will open it up. I guess I should say one thing. We are, this past year, we, just like most of the market, have struggled with the lack of inventory and rising interest rates. We have been working hard to create partnerships to try to create more housing stock or inventory. And one of those we're hopeful that will yield more opportunities for our families in the next couple of years is a partnership with the Vancouver Housing Authority, in which we are working on providing some of their scattered site rental properties that they're going to be disposing of, and a partnership with a new construction developer that will provide new construction home buying up or houses that we could apply this down payment assistance to. So now I'll open up for questions.
This is Tracy with the City of Woodland. Can you go to the previous slide and touch on that a little bit further? I didn't understand fully when you said that there's $8,000 per person for the program, but your request is $300,000. And so I just wanted to go into really what that request, what the dollars are broken down to. I see it in here, but I'm not adding up the numbers. So, and then also the other question is, when you provide your down payment assistance, what's the maximum amount you provide? And is that paid back to you, to Proud Ground, when they sell the home? Like, let's say, for instance, you gave them $5,000 towards down payment. When they sell the home 10 years later or 5 years later, does that $5,000 that you gave them go back into your pot to assist another person in the future?
Good question. So I'll cover the first one. So our request is for $300,000 for home buyers. So that would end up being a total of $75,000 per buyer. Out of that $75,000, we anticipate $8,000 going to program delivery cost, and the remaining $67,000 actually going towards the down payment assistance to acquire the home. And when a home buyer, so how it works is, you know, we provide the amount of assistance we provide is usually between, I would say, $75,000 and up to $130,000 per home buyer. Most of our families need the full amount of assistance to make it work, but we also do have minimum affordability limits. So if someone is at a higher income and they don't need that full amount, we would reduce our award based on their need. When a home enters our program, we do provide, for example, if we provide $100,000 in down payment assistance, when the family goes to resell in the future, they don't have to pay that money back. Instead, what they agree to through the community land trust model is to a resale formula that basically ensures that the home stays affordable. So our family that purchased the home is able to gain equity and wealth through home ownership while still restricting the price to the next income qualified buyer to ensure that they get an affordable home ownership opportunity as well. So the funds are not paid back to Proud Ground. Our ownership of that land under the home basically ensures that the funding will always stay in that home and be used by multiple families over time at resale.
Right, it's paid back to the next family who moves in. And that 67,000 or the 75,000, 67,000 of that is basically to kind of help you guys own the land to be able to keep this in the house in the program. And then the $8,000 is probably most likely for closing costs on their end.
It's actually just staff administration. So we keep documented time that Proud Ground staff spends on these transactions, and that goes to support that piece of it.
Got it. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah. Did I cover all? I tried to keep track of all your questions. Did I cover all of them?
Yeah, you actually did. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
Just a quick comment. And thank you for coming and presenting this morning. I'd love to learn even more about your organization, but I'm just a huge believer in promoting home ownership, because when we help with rent assistance, we continually chase the market and don't really ever help anybody get ahead, but the benefits of ownership are enormous. It shields you from cost increases. It creates stability. It helps with more certainty with schools, with children and stuff. So I really appreciate what you do, and we need more programs than just this one that help people attain ownership. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Fully agree with that statement.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. We have Second Step Housing next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for giving me some time this morning. My name is Tim Foley. I'm the Executive Director of Second Step Housing, and I'm going to talk to you about a home request that we put in. Next slide, please. So our past, Second Step has been around since 1995. We provide housing for, we started by providing housing for homeless single mothers recovering from substance use disorders. And since then, we've expanded to become an affordable housing provider, focusing on people who are escaping homelessness. So right now we own and operate 120 units across 19 properties, all here in Clark County. Over 70% of those units are reserved for people and families that are escaping homelessness. And every night we house about 280 people, and over half of those are children. Next slide, please. So our residents facing a lot of the challenges that you might associate with this demographic, people who are living with very low incomes, oftentimes fixed incomes, living with a disability or have a household member that's living with a disability, people who are fleeing domestic violence, and those who are recovering from different substance use disorders. And our goal, our primary goal, is to help residents retain their housing, so remain stable in their housing. We know that this improves people's lives dramatically. People can address their health issues, kids can stay stable in the same schools, employment outcomes improve. Really, people have a better life when they have a safe and stable home, and that's what we're here to do. Next slide, please. Our strategy is twofold. We have affordable housing and resident services. So we provide affordable housing. We partner that up with resident services staff who connect residents to various resources in the community to help them retain their housing. We connect folks with various organizations that can help them meet specific needs, all again with the goal of helping people retain their housing. And we also have a part of our business that is transitional housing. So we have a handful of units that are used for short-term housing for people who are fleeing dangerous or unsafe homeless situations. So this is meant to be housing for up to 2 years for people to get out of a difficult situation or get off the streets and get their lives in order so that they can secure safe and stable housing. We have staff that work directly with those folks to help them do that. We're also, I don't have a slide in here, but we're also a community housing development organization. So you may have heard this acronym CHODO, and that means that at least 30% of our board of directors is made up of people who are living in low-income situations themselves or live in a low-income neighborhood. So this has been part of what Second Step does for a very long time, and it's a way of bringing a resident voice to our governance, which is really important to how we operate. So our request today, I've asked for $250,000 in home funds to support property acquisition. We are planning to acquire a 23-unit property, which is going to be constructed up just to the northwest of where 99th Street intersects Highway 99. So if you've been up there, you know there's a lawn and garden store up there, kind of on that northwest side of that intersection, and this parcel is tucked right behind there. So Team Construction is the development partner here. They're currently developing the property. I think they're working on permits right now. We have an agreement to acquire the building when it's complete, probably summer of 2024. So right now I'm in the early phases of trying to gather the funds together to make this acquisition. So along those lines, I intend to apply to the Washington State Housing Trust Fund this summer. For the majority of funds, it looks like, you know, I could probably ask for around 60% of the total acquisition cost there. And I'll also be trying to secure private donations from local philanthropists to help with the costs as well. So at this time, we think this property is going to be mixed use. That tends to be best practice in our industry for properties like this. So we'll have people of various income levels. And I expect probably half of those 23 units will be reserved for families that are coming to us from some type of homeless situation. So that's all the slides I have. I think I have plenty of time for questions if anybody has any.
I keep asking all the questions. I keep waiting for somebody else to have one, but I am curious. Do you know the overall cost per unit that is going to be associated with the building?
Well, it's tough to say at this point. We're negotiating the final costs on this, and costs have jumped, as everybody's talked about today, in the last couple of years. So I'm trying to keep it as close to $300,000 per unit as we can do. It might be a little bit more than that because we're trying to get an elevator into this building. Initially, the plans were to just have a 3-floor walk-up, but I don't think that's a great idea. So I'm trying to talk our development partner into putting an elevator in there. And when we get the final cost on that, we'll probably push it up a little bit past $300,000 per unit.
How many levels is it going to be?
3.
3?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tim. So that is all of our presentations for this morning. And so we'll be moving on to just question and answer with our applicants for tenant-based rental assistance. We just do question and answer for these because the programs are very similar to each other. in terms of just what a tenant-based rental assistance program is, but we do want to give an opportunity for all the members of the board to ask questions about the specific organizations and how they run their specific programs. The first organization we have on our list is Janus.
Hello, everyone. Scott Conger with Janus Youth Programs.
And Scott, if you'd like, you can, give just a few sentences, kind of overview of what your program is, if you'd like to start that way.
Sure. So our program assists homeless youth between the ages of 18 and 25 that are on the streets and or in places not meant for habitability, and assist them in obtaining housing. And we do intense case management with them to become self-sufficient. Normally the program, we do anywhere, it can go up to 2 years, but we shoot for about 6 to 12 months of rental assistance and services. And the hope is that this is the last service that these individuals will need in the community. So their last housing service. And we have about an 85% success rate of people becoming self-sufficient and moving out of homelessness.
How many youth did you provide service to? You've been here in front of quite a few times. I've seen you speak. How many youth you provide assistance to last year and the year prior, if you know that off the top of your head?
Yeah, so with this funding, we assist 20 households, and that was 38 youth. But in total, for Clark County last year, Janus served 431 individuals, and about 150 of those were under the age of 5. So we have a variety of different programs. This program, though, assists individuals that are actually homeless. Some of our programs serve individuals that prevent them from becoming homeless, or put them into Caples Terrace, an apartment complex that we run with the Vancouver Housing Authority, and Namukaz, a new one forthcoming.
So you said, I didn't know about the younger ones that aren't teenagers between 18 to 25. You said some of them are in the age of 5. So are you offering financial assistance for the parents? Are these children who have gone into foster care, or they're actually out of the streets and you're trying to get them and their parents off the street? Tell me a little bit more about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so a lot of the households we serve do have children. So we're serving their parents, but the children come into the apartments complex with them. So a lot of youth that we serve, they might be living in their cars with infants or young children. That often happens. So we're helping stability and trying to break the cycle of poverty with these youth and helping them become self-sufficient and stably housed.
And when you say you have an 85% success rate, what do you consider success?
Success is somebody becoming self-sufficient, paying for their own apartment, and not accessing the homeless services anymore. So no longer needing homeless services, yes. But we create a network with youth of community partners, be it behavioral health or education or employment and things like that, so that they do have a network. So if they do stumble once they've exited the program, they still have people that they can turn to help maintain their housing. And they can always come back to us if they need be, but that rarely happens. All right.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Scott. Next, we have Lifeline Connections. I think I see Gina is here.
Yes. Hi, Gina's here, and we have Jeff Zawada, our development director, here as well, but I'll answer any questions. Brief overview of our program. Yes, so we're requesting continued funding for our tenant-based rent assistance from the county to support 3 households who are literally homeless. Our households are literally homeless with a behavioral health disorder, and so they receive treatment for those as well. And we have a lot of recovery support services in addition to help their effectiveness in their progress towards our goals. So we have transportation support, we have workshops on resume building. We have a new home and job search center, like a computer lab where they can come and work on those goals to become self-sufficient with staff present for support. So yeah, we are currently providing these services and just hoping to secure funding to continue. Any questions?
Okay, hearing none, we thank you for coming, and we'll go ahead and move on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina and Jeff. Next, we have Cher.
Hi, I'm Talia McDade O'Neill, Affordable Housing and Stability Program Assistant Director, overseeing the program formerly known as Aspire. That's also here to ask for continued funding with our home. Our program has a mixture of rapid housing and permanent supportive housing programs. We have 3 lead case managers, 13 case managers, 2 housing navigators, a rent well coordinator that all support the program, and then also support the clients who receive home funding.
Can you give me a breakdown of the requests for the 250,000? I know you have 50 for CDBG and 200,000 for the home. Can you give me a breakdown of where those funds are going to be spent?
The CDBG funds will be spent to support the case manager who will run that funding source and support those clients. And then the home 200,000 will be used for the rental assistance, security deposits, HQS inspections, and then we also have ARP funding that will supplement anything that the home can't support.
What's the maximum amount of rental assistance you provide?
The maximum amount of rental assistance we provide, so specifically to the home program, is the max of 2 years. Are you looking for like a timeline question or a timeline?
Both, yeah. You'll do it up to 2 years, and what percent of the rent? So if the rent's $1,000 a month, what percent is the maximum you'll contribute, or do you do the full amount for up to 2 years?
So clients on the program are expected to pay 30% of their income towards the rent. If their income is 0, then 30% of 0, so it'd be 0, and then our program would support the remaining. We do annual recertifications with 24 months of rental assistance.
And one other quick question for you. So if their income is 0, what do you do to see that the income increases over time? For instance, I would say if somebody's income was 0 and they were attending college full-time, I'm just saying this, that you would expect their income to be 0 while they're attending classes, or if they have if they're going to have a mental condition and they're seeking counseling and help with a mental condition and they aren't able to work, then their income would be 0. Tell me what type of people are coming to you for assistance. Is it people who what's the majority of them? Are they mentally challenged and going through rehabilitation, or is it more so people trying to get on their feet and they're going to college and they just need assistance while they're doing that? Give me a little bit more about that if you don't mind.
So we have a wide range of clients on the home program. We right now have a mixture of like large families, about 7 or so members, single parents, clients who are in the process of getting their Social Security disability, and then also a range of clients who really have just kind of fallen down and need the extra support while they figure out their next steps or get back onto their feet. When clients have 0 income, we try to work with them to at least get something, whether that's TANF, ABD, unemployment. Some people have a hard time navigating that field too if they've recently been employed. And so usually the 0 income is just temporarily until we can connect them with another resource or help them find employment with other agencies.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much for coming, and we have one last quick Q&A, correct?
I think, yeah, this is it.
This is it. So the Q&A. This is the next agenda item. Is
Okay, so thank you everyone for being here to do your presentations and Q&A this morning. Just to do a quick wrap up here for members of the board, I will be assigning all of the applications to your email address in Neighborly today. So you'll get kind of a barrage of automated emails from Neighborly. There will be one per application. But really, once you get into Neighborly, you can access all of the applications from there. You don't need to keep going back to your email to score them all. Please let me know if the person who will be scoring applications this year is different from the person who scored applications last year. I want to make sure that I have the right email address that I'm assigning everyone to. So just go ahead and shoot me an email after the meeting if you need to update that, or if you're not sure who I had last year, just go ahead and email me to confirm so that I can make sure that the right person gets everything. If for some reason you get to the end of the day today and you haven't gotten anything from Neighborly, go ahead and let me know so we can make sure that there isn't any issue with that. Applications or scores on the applications are due in Neighborly by March 6th. That will give staff enough time to look at all of the scores and aggregate them after all the board members have scored all of the applications, and then we'll be able to prepare everything for the March meeting when we will be doing funding awards. Again, board members, if you have any issues using Neighborly, go ahead and get in touch with me. I am happy to walk you through some of that, answer questions, resolve any technology issues. And then just to note, our next meeting will be March 13th at 9:30 a.m., and that is when we'll be doing funding awards. So, of course, encourage all of the applicants to be at that meeting as well. And I think that's it from me.
Yes, okay, it is time for public comment. Is there anybody from the public that would wish to comment today? Doesn't sound like we have any. So with that being said, thank you everybody for joining us today. Best thing about February, except for leap year, is that the next month the meeting falls on the same date. So thank you very much. We will adjourn the meeting. See you next month.
Thank you, everyone.